Hi, also this is Sean. So today's video is going to be about mental health again, and it's a follow-up to the last video that I made on mental health, and it's basically about the 7 solutions to depression and mental illness. And it's called in the book 7 Methods of Reconnection. I'm looking at my phone here for notes. Basically what he calls new forms of antidepressants. And I think this is a really good idea because not only do they allegedly work according to the research in terms of depression, but also just living a good life is in line with a lot of these things. So, if you do these things, not only will you feel better, but your life will be better as well. So I've been trying to be a bit more proactive in my life and try to do some of these things a little bit more. But see what you think. So firstly, reconnecting with other people. So we live in quite a disconnected society, and often when we do connect, we connect online, hence here. And I've been trying to make more of an effort to build my social circle back up and, connect with friends, connect with other people. And the story in this book was about a housing estate in Berlin that he visited. Johan visited, and basically it was about people protesting against rent charges, and it's basically a ragtag bunch of people. It was very, very devout Muslims coupled with people who owned a gay bar, people who wouldn't necessarily connect, and they did connect over this issue, and it turned out that they won. They actually got the government to reduce the rent charges, but also, it really helped them as people, it helped them connect, and it showed them that, other people cared for them and they could love all different types of people. And it also reduced instances of things like mental health problems and depression. And that's something that, we all... he also discusses the Amish in America and how they have quite low rates of depression and a really high sense of community. So he's not necessarily recommending any particular communities or saying these are better than others. It's just about community in itself and connecting with people. So it's something that I'm really trying, because I tend to be a little bit more of a solitary person in general. So I'm trying to get out there a little bit more and connect with people. And, I think it does make you feel better. It makes you feel like you're not so alone, and that you can share your problems with others and things like that. Secondly, what he called social prescribing, and this is becoming a bit more popular nowadays, and basically what it means is if you go to the doctor, they'll give you a prescription. It could be for pills, but it could be other things like, go out with your friends once a week or whatever. And the story that he told in the book was about a scheme by which people would get involved in an allotment to try and grow, obviously, plants and vegetables and things like that. And it's not something that'll just happen. You need to organize it. But if it does happen, it's apparently really, really effective. So I was thinking about maybe it could be something like team sports, or being involved in a group. So I like learning French, and it could be a French group or something like that. Therapeutic horticulture, they call it, if it's to do with horticulture. And one study actually showed double the impact of antidepressants for something like this. So it is something that can be really, really effective. And, it'd be fun as well. You obviously try and pick something that you like, and that you can connect with, and you can connect with people over. And yeah, so that's number 2. Number 3 is reconnection to meaningful work. I was shocked by the fact that apparently only 13% of people like their jobs in the UK. We might feel like we're a cog in a machine, or that our jobs don't matter, or that we're expendable, or that what we do really doesn't have that much of an impact on the world. I'm a teacher, so my job probably does have impact. Well, it does have impact. But in this case, he talked about the cooperative movement and about how people set up a bike shop that they owned, and everyone in the company shared the profits and shared the work and shared the responsibility and things like that. I think the difficult thing with this is that, as he says in the book, that meaningless work, has to be done sometimes. And I think it's about really trying to find meaning in your job, regardless of what it is. So it could be, if you work in a shop, it could be about connecting with the customer more, or connecting with your colleagues more. If you work in Starbucks, it could be, the same, really. Number 4 is reconnection to meaningful values. So Johan Hari talks about junk values. I don't think he made this term up, but basically it's about, consumerism and mindless stimulation and just doing things because people will be impressed by you and things like that. So he talks about, finding something bigger than that, something greater than that, something that you can connect with on a deeper level. And that's true. It could be something like given to charity, or it could be working with more vulnerable people, or it could just be about, I love music, and I don't consider that to be a consumerist thing. I love literature and reading, and the importance of family and things like that. Number 5 is sympathetic joy, overcoming addiction to the self. So he talked about one of his friends who was envious of people all the time, and what she would do was, whenever something good happened to someone, she would look for a bad thing about them to try and make herself feel better. So basically, one thing she did, this friend, was try to put into practice sympathetic joy. So essentially, if you find yourself becoming envious of people, just thinking well of them, being happy for whatever's happened in their life, but then trying to do that with people who you don't know, and then trying to do that with people who you don't like, and then trying to do that actively with people who you actually dislike. And it's a practice. It's something that, as you try and do it more and more, you will get better at it. And I could see why someone would struggle with this, because I might struggle with this myself, but I think it could be a valuable thing. And I will definitely try something along those lines. I've been trying to do something kind for someone in the day, and just connect with people a little bit more, because it does make you feel better, and it's not something that comes natural to me, really. Another thing he talked about, or 2 things he talked about, was meditation. If you've ever looked into meditation or tried it, there's a lot of research on meditation that says that it actually can change the structure of your brain. So it can change the objective structures in your brain, and hence make you feel better, make you feel less depressed. It can make you healthier. And there's lots of ways you can meditate. You can look into mindfulness and just try to be more present in the moment, or you can do a course in meditation or whatever. I would recommend a book I've read recently is by someone called Tara Brach, and it's called Radical Acceptance. And at the time that I read that book, it really, really resonated with me. And I thought, this is really good. I really, really like Tara Brach as a person. She seems really nice, and seems to really mean what she's saying, because sometimes self-help books, it can feel a little bit phony, but she doesn't seem like that at all. Another thing he looked at was LSD and the research into LSD. In the 60s, they did a lot of research on LSD, but then due to safety measures, that had stopped. But basically, it started up again in the 90s, and they found that LSD could actually give you a release in relation to yourself in the same way that meditation can do. And that's not Johan Hari or me saying you should go out and take LSD. It's about saying, meditation really can work, and it's about letting go of the self. To a certain extent, we all tend to worry about our own problems and our own fears and ourselves. But meditation is all about trying to get past that and trying to look at something bigger and trying to immerse yourself in something bigger than that. And that's again what radical acceptance is about. If you're suffering or if you're in pain, just accept it, because that will make you feel better about it and make you feel that there's something bigger that depends on what type of pain you're suffering from. Even Tara Brach says, you know, if the pain is too great, you don't want to accept it because it'll overwhelm you. But like I said, check out Radical Acceptance. It's a really good book, and it really resonated with me at the time. Number 6 is acknowledging childhood trauma. So this doesn't have to be something incredibly bad that's happened in your life. I've read a few things about childhood trauma, and basically the idea is that everybody has some level of childhood trauma, no matter what their life was like when they were growing up. And basically he describes in the book how they did one intervention with people, and this one intervention was they asked the GP to say to people who had said that they had faced childhood trauma, I know that you faced childhood trauma. Is everything okay? Would you like to talk about it? And apparently just that one step made people healthier. They had fewer visits to their doctor afterwards and improved their mental health as well. Because they felt less shame. So just imagine how much more could be done with maybe more profound interventions. I don't know what those might be, because it's difficult, because if you have faced childhood trauma, then that's something that's happened to you, an objective fact. So you know, you maybe need to understand that more or something like that. But something like counselling would probably help in that sense. But that's something, again, that's really important. Lastly, number 7, restoring the future. So basically this is about income and poverty and how if you don't have enough money, then you don't have a sense of your future. You know, you might worry where your next pay packet is coming from, or not know where your next meal is coming from. And this is all about the universal basic income. So he talks about is it Rutger Bregman, the person who's most well known for promoting a basic universal income. And there's been a lot of research on the universal basic income, which basically says that, yeah, people might work slightly less, but they do so in a way that they spend more time with their children. It reduces things like low birth rates, big drop in mental health disorders, remove the stresses of everyday life, reduced ADHD. You know, it has huge impacts. And it also gives the worker more power. So if you have a basic universal income, you're not going to take the first job that's offered to you that you don't want. You're going to try and get a job that you actually want, and you're going to stick at that job. And I was listening to this and I was thinking, that is never going to happen. In the UK, in the US, they are never going to pass a policy of a basic universal income. And Johan Hari actually acknowledges this and says, you know, when he is cynical about things, and he told a story about a man who was dying of AIDS. He contracted HIV, and he thought he was dying. So basically, he went away to write a book, and he thought, okay, seeing as though I'm dying, I may as well go all out in this book. So he proposed a wholly new idea, which was that gay people should be allowed to get married. This is in the early 90s. And basically he was derided by the gay community because they saw him as a sellout. He was derided by the heterosexual community. He was attacked from all quarters. And then, because he had so much hope, what happened was he was invited to the White House. He didn't die, by the way. He was invited to the White House by Barack Obama, which was draped in a rainbow-coloured flag, to commemorate him, because he'd been the first person to suggest this idea, which was then passed. And basically what Johan Hari is saying, you know, if we don't have hope for things, if we don't think that things can get better, then we're just going to accept the current situation. And I do think that's true to a certain extent. And I was tearing up while he was telling this story, and I crying my eyes out because of this guy's hope and this guy's quest for something better, if you like. And he said if he could go back 25 years and see this man and say, you know, not only in 25 years will you not be dead, but you'll also be invited to the White House by the president, to commemorate what you've done. And also, by the way, that president will be black. You know, we wouldn't have believed, and he wouldn't have believed that that could happen, but we need to have that belief because things can change for the better. And some of these changes are really, really big changes. You know, universal basic income, it's outside of our control. We can protest and we can lobby the government to change those things, but the other things are maybe more in our control. You know, connect with people, go out more, see your friends more, do something meaningful. Don't consume, but instead try and do something more profound and more enriching. Yeah, so tell me what you think in the comments. This book had a big impression on me, and I would really recommend it if you haven't read it, if you're interested in things like mental health and stuff like that. Lost Connections by Johan. Thanks very much for watching the video. If you like the channel, please subscribe. Bye bye.